We take you now to Atlanta. President Trump is launching the Black Voices for Trump. It's a coalition that's part of his re-election campaign. Let's listen in.
Wow. Thank you. Well, I want to thank you all. And it's a big crowd of people outside. We couldn't get them in. We'll do a bigger room the next time, but we want to thank you very much. And I want to thank a special friend of mine, Ben Carson, for the introduction, and for doing so much, does such a great job at HUD. And Vice President Mike Pence, always been there, always been there. He's a great gentleman, great man. And I'm thrilled to be here in the heart of Georgia to launch our incredible new nationwide grassroots effort. Blacks, think of this, Blacks for Trump, Black Voices for Trump. African Americans for Trump. Call it whatever the hell you want, right? We like it. What do you prefer? Blacks for Trump or African Americans for Trump? I think so. Great. Well, I want to thank you, and I'll tell you what, we're doing well. We have our best employment numbers, and we're going to get into it, but the support we're getting from the African-American community has been overwhelming, and I want to thank each and every one of you for your courage and tenacity and devotion to really what's turning out to be a movement. This was like a movement in 2016. There was a movement of a lot of people, and by the way, you made up a good portion of that movement. You know that. Diamond and Silk, oh, you're so great. So great. And I hear you knocking them dead. You're all over the place. And that's good. It's the way it's supposed to work, right? Someday you'll have to save a ticket for me. I'll walk in with the First Lady and we'll be happy. Good. Seriously, when you're in Washington, I want you to let me know. Great job you're doing. Really appreciate it. With your help, we're going to travel all across the country to every community, urban, rural, and suburban, and we're going to campaign for every last African-American vote in 2020. From the beginning of our campaign, we took on the Washington lobbyists and the special interests and corporate media. See how that's working? They come at you, but you know what? We're winning. We're winning like nobody's ever won before. We took on the corrupt media, a lot of it's corrupt, and the political establishment that has failed America for decades and failed the African-American community for decades. And we're starting to learn about things that we never thought were possible even. Exactly 3 years ago tonight, on November 8th, 2016, the people spoke, and we took our country back, and that's what's happening. We won an extraordinary victory for all Americans, and 1 year from now, we're going to win another incredible victory, and we are going to do it with a groundswell of support from hardworking African-American patriots. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, because altogether we've never done better. We've never done better than we're doing now. The Republican Party was the original home of African-Americans, and now African-Americans are returning. It was a 100-year trip, if you think about it. Paris, it was 100 years, right? And now you're returning. And coming back to the Republican Party, people forget Abraham Lincoln was a Republican. We have to remember that. And you're coming back in record numbers. We're going to make 2020 a chance. We're going to give it really something. We're going to make it a chance that you take, but it's not a chance because you know exactly what's happening. You've seen, you know, when I first came out and started talking about vote for me, that was taking a chance because I wasn't a politician. Now everything I said has come true, except more so, much more than we ever thought possible. When we look at the numbers, and we're going to go into the numbers, we're going to make 2020 a year of change in black communities all across the country. We've already been doing it. And black Americans will join our mission to protect their jobs, defend their safety, and to create a brighter future for every citizen. Together, we will make America greater than ever before. And that's what's happening right now, and you're a big part of what's going on. we're delighted to be joined by Harrison Floyd of our Black Voices Coalition. Fantastic. Where's Harrison? Where's Harrison? Harrison, you didn't even get a good location there. That's why you're doing so well, actually. You'll let other people have that good location. Harrison, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you. Great job you're doing. And our terrific co-chairs, Herman Cain and Pastor Darrell Scott. Thank you, Darrell. Come up here, Darrell, will you please? Come up here. This guy, I watched him. He's so tough. I said, is he really a pastor? He's the toughest guy I've ever seen. He would take them apart. He would go onto the enemy territory, fake news, like CNN. He would take them apart. That was easy for you, though, wasn't it? Huh? Do you want to say a couple of words? Did you speak before? Come on, say it. Come.
God bless everybody. One thing I learned from watching this master debater was, if I can't win the debate, I'll turn it into an argument. I might lose the debate, but I'm not going to lose the argument. But listen, there's a scripture in the Bible. Jesus said of Abraham, he said, Abraham rejoiced to see my day. And he saw it and was glad. And we rejoice to see this day. We see it. We're glad about it. You know, in 2015, 2016, a handful of black people were courageous enough to come forward and publicly announce their support for then candidate Donald Trump, and not only announce support, but actively stump for him. Diamond and Silk and Paris Denard and too many, I don't want to leave anybody out, but we saw the day when people would hear us. For every 5 persons that criticized us, 1 person would hear us. And that 1 person caused another person to hear them. And you know, courage is courageous. Once somebody steps up to the plate, others say, well, I can step up to the plate if they can do it. Now look at us. And you ain't seen nothing yet. This ain't nothing here. This is just a seed. Wait till we see the harvest in 2020.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Fantastic guy. He's a champ. And again, Diamond and Silk, I really appreciate you being here so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And a very special thanks to someone who has been with us right from the beginning. Katrina, where's Katrina? Katrina Pearson, and I met her, one of the first people I met. In fact, I don't think I was even running then, right? I said, I'm thinking about running. She said, that's a good idea. And I guess it was a good idea because here we are. We go back to that beautiful Oval Office, right? And we do a lot of things for a lot of people. Thank you, Katrina. Great job you've done. Thank you. And a very special woman who is constantly defending me. Sometimes I don't need it, but sometimes I do. Alveda King. That's right. She's a great woman. Great woman. And we don't forget. We will never forget. Thank you, Alveda. And we're delighted to be joined as well by former Governor Sonny Perdue. Where's Sonny? And now he's the head of agriculture. Sonny Perdue, the great Sonny Perdue. He's given away a lot of the money from China. We take in the money from China. We hand it over to the farmers, right? And Mrs. Perdue. So Sonny's now the, as you know, Secretary of Agriculture. And he's done an incredible job. Thank you, Sonny, very much. What a job. Thank you. And we have Senator David Perdue. Where is David? Where is the great David Perdue, your senator? And I just want to thank you, David. You have been so instrumental in the success of the state. We're doing well in the state. When we were campaigning, it wasn't really doing so good, Georgia, and now it's doing phenomenally well. So we want to thank David. We want to thank you. We want to thank you, great Governor. Brian, I don't know, Brian's around here someplace, I think. Brian, this state's doing much better than it was when you came in, Brian. Brian Kemp, a lot better. So thank you, Brian and David and Sonny and everybody. You're incredible people. And we also have a couple of warriors that are incredible and have been right from the beginning. They help us with all of these witch hunts. Every week it's a different witch hunt. And we have Representative Rick Allen, you know? Rick? Thank you, Rick. Representative, meaning Congressman Buddy Carter. Buddy. These are people they fight. Jody Heiss, you know. Jody is great. And a warrior like a few people have ever seen before. I watched him during the Mueller hearing, and a lot of people were very, very nervous when he started going after everyone. And he really has been. He's been incredible and right at the forefront. And he's also a special man. His name is Congressman Doug Collins. Thank you. Great job. Great job. Thank you. Thank you. See, they like you, Doug. They better like you. Does a great job for the state. We also have a first lady in this room. You know, our first lady nationwide is very popular, right? But you have a first lady in Georgia named Marty Kemp, who's really popular. Is Marty here? She's here. Good. She loves the people. She loves our state. She loves everything about it, and she's made life a lot easier because life is not so easy for Brian. He's out there working all the time. So I want to thank you, Marty, very much. Thank you very much for being here. Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. Former terrific baseball player, by the way, for those of you that don't know, right, Jeff? Your Georgia Attorney General, Chris Carr. Chris has done a real job. Thank you, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Great job. And the Attorney General-elect of Kentucky is here. He's become a big star. I don't know. We had a great Kentucky, but we got no credit for it, you know. We had a man running for governor who really worked hard, but he was down a lot and almost won, and maybe he will. I think he's contesting it. Is that right? I think he's contesting it. But we brought him up 19 points. And then the media said that was a bad night for Trump. But we also won 5 of 6 of the races. And the first African-American Attorney General in Kentucky's history. This is going to be a star. Let's see if I'm right about it. I predicted you. Daniel Cameron. Daniel, you're there someplace? Great job, Daniel. So proud of you. Wow, he won by a lot. That was a lot of fun we had. We were there the night before, and it was some evening. But that was a tremendous record. You set a record, as you know, for what you were running for. It's been a long time, too. When I ran for office 3 years ago, I looked at the bleak, dismal record of the Democrat Party and asked the African-American community, what the hell do you have to lose, right? What do you have to lose? And I came off stage that night, and all these professional handlers, right? I don't have too many handlers, but they say, sir, I don't think they're going to like that. I said, no, look, because I read a list. Last in crime, last in this, last in home ownership, last in the economy, lowest wages, all of this stuff. And I said, wait a minute, I'm just reading off a list. And I said, wait a minute. And that's when I said it. It wasn't as part of the script. I do my best work off script. My best work. I hate to say this. I also do my worst work off script. So you never get in trouble when you go by the script, right, Paris? Now, I do my best and my worst work. And it makes things very exciting, too. But that was my best work. I mean, it was a very important statement to be made because, honestly, the Democrats have let you down. And then I made you a solemn pledge that whether you voted for me or not, I would be your greatest champion. Okay? And you did. You came out. We did very well. I think we're going to do a lot better this time because now you know that we do it. Now it's not just talk. Don't forget, I came not as a politician. I came as a businessman, and I said, we're going to do things that are going to be great. Businessman / television star, right? We had a lot of fun with The Apprentice, but I said, we're going to do a job. And so, but who knew? I mean, a lot of people, they didn't know would I pick good judges. They didn't know a lot. They see what we've done with judges. We're at 157 federal and Court of Appeal judges. We'll be at 182 soon. A record. It's a record. And we were left by the previous administration 142 judges to fill. Can you imagine that? I thought they may have one. They may have none. I said, how many? Sir, you have 142. I said, you have to be kidding. You have to be kidding. 142. So we'll be at 182, 2 great Supreme Court judges. And So it's great. Two great justices of the Supreme Court, and we're going to be looking at that whole situation with judges because we have a lot coming due, and it's, there are some saying greatest thing you can do, greatest legacy, most important thing to do for a president. I say military and defense is always most important. Somehow I would say defense. We've totally rebuilt our military. Our military is strong. We did a pretty big number on al-Baghdadi last week. Pretty big number. He didn't know what the hell hit him, I can tell you that. They came in, they weren't playing games. They weren't playing games. They came in on those brand new, those beautiful choppers, and they said, they went through the wall. They didn't go through the door, you know. I said, why are they? Because I'm watching this like you watch a movie. Okay, like you watch a movie, and they came through that, they boom, 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 that was dynamite. Boom, they blew a hole. I said, why don't they just walk through the front door? It's called booby traps. I said, that makes sense. But you never saw anything go so quickly, and so it was violent, but it was incredible. It was incredible. He killed a lot of people. He was the founder of ISIS. And ISIS was bad, and when you saw those people in the orange outfits and the horrible things that happened to those people in the orange outfits, this is the man, and we took him out, and then we took out his second. And we've got our eye on his third. And I vowed to pour out all of my heart and soul to fight for your families and for your future. That was after, it's true, I was reading that list, that horrible list. It was 10 points. And everyone was the worst, the worst, the worst, the worst, the worst for African America. And every single one was the worst. They had statistics, and I'm saying, man, this is really bad. And we took care of it. Now you have, from the worst to the best numbers you've had. For decades, the Democrats have taken African-American voters totally for granted. They have. They didn't do anything for you. Democrats have run America's inner cities at every level of government for 50, 60, and 70 years. And really 100 years, I view it. I think Paris, right? 100 years. When Detroit last had a Republican mayor in 1962, it had a strong, beautiful economy. Per capita incomes were among the highest in the nation. And after nearly 60 years of really crooked Democrat rule, it's one of the poorest cities in America. It was one of the most successful cities in America. Philadelphia has a poverty rate more than double the national average. The city has had a Democrat mayor every year since 1952. 20 out of 20 most dangerous cities in America last year were run by Democrats. I'd say that's not too good. Nationwide, 58% of murder victims under the age of 22 are African American. America is waking up to the Democrat Party's record of suffering and neglect. That's what it is. They want your vote. They're nice to you just before the election, and then they forget about you for 4 years or 2 years or 6 years or whatever it may be. Then they come and they hit you hard for 3 months, and then they get your vote, and they say, bye-bye. No, I see it. I mean, I deal with them all the time. I deal with a crooked politician, this guy Adam Schiff. He's a crooked politician. Nancy Pelosi should go back home to San Francisco and clean up her district. It's falling apart with drugs and with homeless and with all of the problems. It's not the same San Francisco. Of all, California's a mess, is right. Of all of the Washington sellouts that have wounded our nation, none has been worse hit than the Democrat Party's cruel and betrayal. I mean, the betrayal of the black community is unbelievable, what's happened. It's unbelievable. Democrats bowed at the feet of special interests and trapped your children in failing government schools. You look at the schools, worst schools, and we're making a lot of progress, but you have the worst schools of anybody in the country by far. It's not even close. They shipped your jobs overseas with catastrophic and horrible trade deals, which was changing around rapidly. We have to see what happens with U.S. We can't get Nancy Pelosi to approve USMCA. That's between Canada, the United States. It's a phenomenal deal for us. Democrats threw open America's borders to the deadly drugs and ruthless gangs that are all over the place, to mass illegal immigration, which hurts the black community so badly. They passed crime bills that devastated your communities, and Democrats waged a relentless assault on the cherished values that have always defined African-American families. You know that. It's amazing that you've stayed so long, to be honest. It almost becomes a habit, right? It's a habit. Like it's, oh, we vote for a Democrat. Nobody knows why they vote for a Democrat. Look, if they don't do the job, you switch. You got to switch. And some progress has been made like never before, perhaps, in such a short period of time. But under this administration, all of that has changed, and it's changing even faster now. We're undoing the damage inflicted by decades of corrupt Democrat rule and creating a historic tide of new opportunity and prosperity. We've done more for African Americans in 3 years than the broken Washington establishment has done in more than 30 years. We've created 6.7 million new jobs since the election, a number that, if I would have said that to the fake news media back there, look at all those cameras. If I would have said that, now, if I would have said that during the campaign, I would have been excoriated. They would have gone wild. How dare he make 6.7 million new jobs? Think of that. Since the election. Last month, the African-American unemployment rate reached the lowest level ever recorded in the history of our country. How do you lose that argument in a debate, right? The African-American youth unemployment, this was so important to me. You remember how high it was, 60, 70%? Has now reached the lowest number ever recorded in the history of our country, doing really well. The African-American poverty rate has reached an all-time historic low, lowest it's ever been. For the first time ever, most new hires of prime working age are minorities and women. First time that's ever happened. Wages are rising really fast, up 9% since the election, a number that was unthinkable. And they're rising fastest for low-income workers. Proportionately, they're rising the fastest for the low-income worker. Who would have thought this was going to happen? Almost 2.5 million Americans have been lifted out of poverty since my election, including 150,000 African-American children. 150,000. It's a lot. See, when I hear 150,000, a lot of people don't know what it means. You know what it means to me? We fill up Yankee Stadium 3 times. 3. That's a lot of people. To bring investment to neglected communities, we've cut a record number of job-destroying regulations, more than any administration in history, even though we've been here for a short while by comparison. We passed massive tax cuts for working families, saving the typical family of 4 $2,000 a year. And over the last 2 years, my administration has also provided more than $8 billion in contracts and financing to minority-owned small businesses, which alone has resulted in a minimum of 20,000 brand-new, beautiful jobs. So with us today are Kelvin and Janelle King from right here in Atlanta. Kelvin is a graduate of the United States Air Force Academy, great place, where he was also all-conference football player. Today, Kelvin and his wife, Janelle, own a general contracting business, and they're doing really well. Kelvin and Janelle, please come up. Say a few words, please. Come on up. He looks so happy. He should be happy. Hi, thank you. Thank you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Please.
Only 80 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. This is really cool, by the way. This is. I too am a builder, right?
That's right.
You know, my wife Janelle and I, we own Osprey Management. Osprey is a general contractor, construction firm based here in Georgia. As a businessman, I started Osprey 7 years ago out of my bedroom. And we were able to eventually generate enough cash to move to the basement. So I built out my basement, and we operated out of my basement for a few years. But just last year, we were able to purchase and operate from our very own 12,000 square foot office building. Over near the Braves Stadium. We're big Braves fans. Because of the policies of this president, the economy is the strongest in my lifetime. But wait, maybe a little too strong when you consider the record low unemployment and how difficult it is to find employees. So we are hiring. Osprey is hiring. All right. To everyone listening.
Well, you've been watching President Trump. He's speaking in Atlanta. He's courting black voters as part of his re-election campaign. We're going to continue to monitor this and bring you any news from it. But for now, a quick break. You're streaming CBS Ad.